Hello everyone, and welcome to another one of Mr. Crow's Java Eclipse lessons. Last video we started on Chapter 5 and loops. We're going to continue there. We just got finished creating a addition quiz with random numbers. I'm going to go ahead and erase that. If you want to check out more on that, you need to look at the previous video. But now we are going to do guessing game where you we're gonna have to do a while loop because we don't know how many times this loop will happen over and over again, but you're going to guess a number, see if it's too high or too low, and keep guessing until you guess the correct number, magic number between 0 and 100. So first things first, we're going to have to get a number, and magic number equals we're gonna have to remember cast the random number int math.random times 100, and then out print line, just so we can check. We're going to start off by printing the magic number so we can make sure our code works correctly going forward. So we're going to have to do a while loop. While we're going to do prompt the user to guess the random number before we do our while loop. What number am I thinking of between 0 and 100? And it said including 100. So you need to make sure you go to 101, so it includes 0 all the way up through 100, 101 different number possibilities. And so we would do int guess equals input dot next int. You know it's an integer value. Have our guess, and then we're going to do a while guess does not equal magic number. We're going to do this loop. So within the loop, we're going to have to see, is the guess too high or too low? If guess is greater than magic number, system.out.println your guess is too high. Guess less than, probably could just do, I guess you could just do else. Okay, so let's test this. And then outside the loop, so you got to go outside the if statement, outside the while loop, and we can go all the way down here. Make sure you know your indentation. That's why indentation is so important, because things like this can get all sorts out of whack if you don't do it. Great guess. Okay. Okay, now we test. What number am I thinking of? 99. Oh, your guess is too high, too high, too high. Okay, so we need to stop this before it freaks out on us. Okay, so we need to be able to exit the loop. Or actually what we need to do is get another input. So we need to do guess equals input dot next int. Okay, now we declare that guess is an integer. Up here we have our first guess, and then if that's not correct, we're going to keep guessing. So let's try this again, and it will run the loop and it'll stop right here, and it'll go run the loop and it'll stop right here. It always stops to ask for the input right here. Let's go ahead and do system.out.print line try again. Okay. That way it doesn't freak out on us, so it can stop at least every time. Okay, so we did 99. The number is actually 93. It gave it to me. So let's try again. And then we need to, but I've realized that it says try again and not your number is too high. So we could either put this in both of these lines, like right after it, but I'm just gonna have it print like this. So try again. And actually I want my print magic number. I'm gonna have that be first, so I know what this magic number is, so I can really manipulate this entire program. Okay, so 11's the number. What number am I thinking of? Well, I know before you even know. So 12, try again, your guess is too high. Okay, 10, try again, your guess is too low. 99, your guess is too high. Let's take out the print line, and let's guess correctly. Great guess, you are right. So it seems like it works. So we take out the print number, we can have it be actually what we want it to look like. So 99, try again, period space. Okay, so 99, try again. Guess is too high. Okay, 50. Guess is too high. 25. Your guess is too low. 37. Guess is too high. 30. Your guess is too low. 33. Guess is too low. 35. Oh, what a guess. Okay, that's actually the proper way to do it, is go half. That's how we're going to be sorting things. That's a sorting technique we'll go over later. But anyways, so that is the first round. First problem. Okay. Yes number. You can do a subtraction quiz as well, just similar to the addition quiz. In the preceding example, if you have a large number of data to enter, it would be cumbersome to type from the keyboard. Store the data separated by white space in a text file, say input.txt, and run the program using the following command. Okay, interesting. So this is just letting you know a way to enter input faster. If you have a bunch of data, you're not going to over and over going to do an input, create an input code. So these are different ways of doing that. So that's something that can be very useful in the working world. Now, for what we're doing and learning, I'm not going to be as focused on that. Testing yourself is always a good idea. So in I equals 1, 1 is less than 10. So this should happen, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. 1 modulo 2 does not equal 0, so it won't print. And then the next time through the loop, 2 will print, 4 will print, 6 will print, 8 will print. So knowing modulo, how that works, and understanding that every even number will print is, it's a good. This is one of the greatest things about modulo. You can test whether something's even or odd. You can test if it's divisible by something, obviously, but also doing a variety of things. But this would be every odd number. Okay, it would start with 1. It would not print. Then 2, it would print, but it would print 1 more than what it originally was. So it would print 3, 5, 7, and 9. Okay, and then if plus plus, so this would start at 1, and it would go. This would be 2 on the first time through the loop. So that would print I, which would be 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, since the 9th time through. So this would print 2, 4, 6, 8. This would print 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Continuing down, a do while loop. Okay, so I haven't gone over this specifically. A do while loop executes the statement, and then afterwards it checks within the loop. So it does something. So enter an integer. The input ends if it is 0. Okay, so you created an input, and then the data is the sum. The sum equals the data, what the data equals, plus, and you're adding to the sum. So while data is not 0, you're going to redo the loop, redo the loop, redo the loop. This happens at this while is at the end. Okay, so this is from this highlight to this highlight. That is the data. Okay, so it reprints enter an integer, enter an integer, enter an integer, enter an integer. Oh, it's 0. Okay, then it's 14. Okay, so it does, and then it checks at the end. Okay, so it's very similar, but it just is a kind of a different way to write it. And also, sometimes you need to have them print something first, and you don't want to check it, put it into a variable first, like 0. You wouldn't want to put it in a variable. You just would kind of want to have that be the first prompt, and then go from there. So they're interchangeable in a way, but that's just a little bit different way of doing it. The for loop. This is really going into the for loop. I equals 0. I is less than 100. I plus plus. So it's doing everything in the while loop. So while I is less than 100, it would be int I equals 0 up here, and I plus plus would be at the bottom of the while loop if you were making it similar to a for loop. But that is essentially what it is. It's int I equals 0, I is less than 100, I plus plus. This happens at the beginning. This is what it's checking, and this plus plus happens at the end of the loop. Okay. Which loop to use? The while loop and the for loop are called pretest loops because the continuation condition is checked before the loop body is executed. The do while loop is called a post-test loop because condition is checked after the loop body is executed. Okay. You can write a loop in any of the forms, as it says here. A while loop can be converted into a for loop can be converted into a while loop. Some fit better than others. Like I was saying, a while loop, when you don't know how many times the loop body is going to be executed, is usually when you can use it. And the for loop, for me at least, when I know the number of times something is executed, I like using the for loop. That's kind of what they're set up for. Do not, just like anything else, do not put a semicolon, just like an if statement condition. You're checking the stuff inside the curly brackets, so do not put a semicolon here, or it will automatically print this one time. And actually, this would come up with an error. In a do while loop, this is the end of the code, so it's checking this stuff in here. So you do put a semicolon here. Okay. Yes, you can convert a for loop to a while loop. nested loops. So this multiplication table, this one's a little bit complicated. You need to know this. Just this formatting is from chapter 4, and so you don't know that necessarily, but this is kind of why we're learning the loops first, is because you can do cool stuff like this. So this first loop would be 9, and that is what makes it so you can print this all going down right here. This for loop right here prints this 1 through 9 going across, and the second one is for this going down. As you can see, I plus a line, but it doesn't print a new line because right next to it is this second loop is printing this line. So this second inner loop right here, okay, this inner loop right here is printing I times j. Now, if you notice in the first loop, the integer is I, so it is 1, and then it prints 1, so it prints right here. It does not print a new line, so it'll continue on to right here. Then this second loop is within this other loop, so the first time through this loop will happen 9 times. The second time through this loop will happen another 9 times. The third time through this loop, this will happen 9 times, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the first time through the loop, this gets printed right here. Then this inner loop will happen 9 times. So the first time this inner loop happens, it'll print 4 digits, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it'll print I times j. So I is the first time through the loop, this outer loop, and then j, it's the first time through this inner loop also, so it'll print 1. Now we're going to do the inner loop again. The inner loop happens 9 times before we go back out to the outer loop. Okay, so the second time through the inner loop, it'll be I will be 1. Now j will be on its second time through the inner loop, so it'll be 2. Then it'll do 4 digits. 4 digits every single time through the loop, so 4 spaces. And then 3, 4 spaces. And then 4. J is 4, J is 5, J is 6, J is 7, J is 8, J is 9. Okay, then after J is 9, J is 9. Okay, so it ends this inner loop and it goes back, now it goes down, and then it prints this line, and then it goes to the outer loop, and the outer loop starts all the way over back up at the top. Now I just plussed for the first time. So I goes from 1 to 2. Okay, so 2 plus pipe right here. That gets printed for this outer loop right here. Then J is 1. This inner loop starts to happen after you print this. So J goes back to 1. Now, 4 spaces. I is now 2 because the outer loop is on its second time through. J is back to 1 because the inner loop is on its first time happening for the second set. So J is 1, I is 2, so it's 2. Now, second time through the inner loop, J is 2, I is 2, 4. J is 3, I is 2, 6. J is 4, I is 2, 8. 5th time, 6th time, 7th time, 8th time, 9th time through this inner loop. J is 9, I is 2. 2 times 9 is 18. That's why the last one on this line is 18. Then I is 3. Then we go through this whole thing over again with I being 3. I times J plus plus, I times J plus plus, I times J plus plus, I times J plus plus. Boom, boom, boom. J goes through the loop 9 times. then it's 4. J goes through the loop 9 times. That's 5. So that's how you build your multiplication table. Okay, and it prints a new line at the very end of the outer loop every time. So it goes boom, 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 print line, I++, boom, 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 print line, back to the top, I++, okay, so on and so forth. All right, let's get to some exercise problems now. Well, let's do this 5.9. It's a great listing to do. I suggest you pause the video now and you can copy this listing and really look through why it's the greatest common divisor. You enter N1, enter N2. Greatest common divisor would be obviously initially be 1. The possible common divisor would be 2. Excuse me, 1 would be the smallest, but it will, you'll see it'll add up, and then the possible common divisor, if k is less than or equal to n1 and k is less than or equal to n2, n1 divided by k is equal to 0, and n2 divided by k is equal to 0. Your greatest common divisor equals k. And then k++. So this will keep adding to k. So if 125 and 25, let's see, if it would start out and check, okay, is 2 less than or equal to 125? Yes. And 2 is less than or equal to 25, yes. Is 125 modulo 2 0? No. Okay, so if that's not true, we skip this line and we k++. Then we go to 3, and then it checks at 4, then it checks at 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, all the way up, then 25, and then it actually checks all the way until k is not less than or equal to 125. So this loop happens 125 times. Okay, so it checks all the multiples. All the multiples of, or all the numbers between 125 and 0 to see what the greatest common divisor is. And then it sets k at 25. It sets it equal to it. And then k keeps ++ing and keeps checking. But once this is not true, which it won't be true once k is 125, you're going to print the greatest common divisor for n1. Okay? Okay, so now let us go to some chapter problems. We got a ton of chapter problems in this set. So we are going to start. We'll start by doing problem 8 here. So find the highest score. Write a program that prompts the user to enter the number of students and each student's name and score, and finally displays the name of the student with the highest score. So going back into Eclipse, find the highest score. So that should be pretty simple. I don't need to really look back at that. So int number of students equals input dot next int. Yeah, having the number of students is necessary here because then it would go on forever. So what kind of loop would I do if I know the number of students? Well, I do a for loop. So for number of students equals 1, comma, number of students. Oh, let's do that. Let's do this. Let's do a while, actually. I'm changing my mind. While number of students is less than I, so we're going to do int I equals 1, because we're going to start with the first student. You don't start with student 0. Well, if we started with I, we'd need to do less than or equal to if we started with 1. Okay? So, while number of students less than or equal to 1, I, which is 1, we will do system.out.print line enter student's name. So you enter student's name and then string student1 equals input.next, just input.next. Okay, and then if student1 score, which we need to prompt the user to enter, print line enter student enter 1 plus student 1 plus score. Okay, and then int double score equals next double student. If student 1 score is greater than student 2 score, system.out.println Okay, now we need to enter student 2 score. So we can copy this and make it student 2 and score 2. Why did I just use score? It should be student score, student 1. Okay, student 1 score, student 1 score, excuse me, student 2 score, and then it should be student 2 here instead of student 1. Now, we need to create a last variable for int, or double high score. Score does not have a value yet. Student 1 score equals high score equals student 1 score. Else high score equals student 2 score, semicolon, semicolon, and string I student score I student score equals student 1 else I student score just to make sure our indentation is correct. Let's fix that up. Okay, and we're going to print system.out.print print line the high scoring student is plus high score, and I'm going to explain this all to you here in a second. Space plus space with a score of space plus high score. This will be high student score. Okay, since this is all shown inside the while loop, it will not be able to transfer, so we need to get this outside the loop, and then now it'll be able to read this. Well, it should have. We have probably all these variables start off outside the loop. Is that right? Then you need to not have their variables reset. And now let's test it. Where am I missing it? This is covering this. My student score. Student score. Oh, this is just high score. Oh, no, it's not. System.out.print line, enter the number of students. Okay, so we enter the number of students. That's the number of students. That is what's getting put into our while loop. And that will have I happen over and over, and I needs to plus plus at the end of the loop. And then that loop will happen over and over the number of times. Since I starts at 1, it'll happen the exact number of times the number of students there are. Okay, and actually it needs to happen one less time because we're going to enter the student first. Okay, and then so enter number of students, 5. Enter student's name, Mr. Crow. district row score. Of course, 99.9. Enter student's name. Mark, 88.8. High score student is blank. I'm going to pause this, and I will get back to you on that. Make sure oh, whoops. While number of students is greater than, not less than I. Let's try this again. Oh, number of students. Whoops. Number of students, 3. Enter student's name. Row score. Okay. Steven. 77.7. Student's name. Henry. 66.6. Enter student's name. Jordan. 33.3. Mary score 77.7. High score is Jordan with a 77.7. Okay, that's not good. So you okay, so we need to do a few things here. We need to have high score become the temporary high score. Okay, and then so if you want, we need to just do this. First, we need to have this happen. Copy. We need to have this happen student 1, student 2. So this needs to be I minus 1. Because we already enter 2 students. And so if it's 3, let's say number of students is 3. I minus 1. It would be number of students minus 1, not I minus 1. So let's say students is 3. Students becomes 2. So it'll do the loop once, then I plus plus. Okay, so we need to not enter student 2 score here. And we're not going to enter student 2 score because we do that up at the top. So then if we check if the new student, student 1, is greater than student 2 score, okay, so we need to check whoops, okay, we have double high score here. Now we will replace these here. So first we need to check with this. I shouldn't have done 2 students at all in the first place. Should have entered 1 student at a time. Okay, so we're going to reset this a little bit. Okay, student 1 score. We're going to put the high score. We're going to create high score right here. And so if student 1 the first time through, student 1 will be set to the high score. Okay, then it'll go again, and you'll enter a new student 1 score, and then the next student 1 will be the high. Check if it's the high score. Okay, I made it much more complicated than I needed to. So, enter number of students. Okay, 5. Student's name. C. C score 3.3. A score 5.5. B score 4.4. G score 77.7. I score is G, 77.7. Okay, let's try it one more time. A. Let's try it again. Number of students 3. A 22.2. B 33.3. Okay, so you don't -1. Simple as that. Okay, I apologize for making it more difficult than it had to be. But now you have student 1. Okay, you enter their name, their string, you store it as a string, you store the number of students as an int, and then you store student 1's score, and then you have int I equals 1, you have a high score, you set a score for it, doesn't matter what it is, you set a string for it, doesn't matter what it is, because we're resetting it in here. So then, the first time through, you need to actually do this at the top. Okay, you need to check it once before it happens, and then once inside the loop, and then it'll keep happening over and over again. Because otherwise, if we didn't do that, let's test our problem here. So if A, number of students 3. A, let's say they are 99.9. They are 99.9. And B is 88.8. B 88.8 is 88.8, and C is 77.7. C 77.7. The high score is still B because we didn't have it up here. We need it up here to check prior. So then it's high score. Then there's new student 1 getting started right here. Okay. Could have we just erased all this and started entering the score within the statement? Probably. So we could have just done this. Yeah, you could have done string and double. Wow, I really made that way more complicated than it needed to be. 3. A. 9. B. 88.8. Start out with 0. So it goes one more time, but that is all we need to do. Last check. Last check. 3. A. 99.9. B. 88.8. C. 77.7. I score is A. Score of 99.9. Okay, so that is still Chapter 5, Loops, Part 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know we're going slow and at kind of a snail's pace through this, but that is because loops are so important, and you really, really need to have a full understanding of it because it's a great fundamental for programming. So until next time, thanks for watching.